Go. Hello everyone, my name is Ripchip, and this is a demonstration run of Star Wars Dark Forces, the All Secrets category. The goal of this category is to beat the game and, as the name implies, collect all secrets. And there's a lot of unique tech to this category, which makes it pretty interesting. A lot of levels in Dark Forces are very complex, so any percent avoids a lot of that. This category shows a lot of it, and right there I did the first secret, which is activating that elevator and then going underneath, because an area opens up once the elevator's been activated. If you do that quickly, you can avoid having to go back down. But the interesting thing about Dark Forces is that, unlike most FPS games at this time, you don't hit a switch to exit. You complete all your objectives and then you can leave the level whenever you want. So as you can see right there, I just finished up all the main objectives, and because of that I have access to leave the level, but I have to get the rest of the secrets first. And in a couple of different levels it's actually faster to just complete objectives and then go back to get secrets. For example, this one has a lot of areas that you wouldn't normally even go to when you're just completing objectives, and it's a lot faster to do them after the level's been completed, so you don't have to backtrack. And yeah, we're about to get to the last one right here. As you can see, this is a lot going on in just a minute and a half, so the one thing with this category is that it is incredibly fast and there's a lot going on, which kind of makes it a really fun run. The second level is one of the levels in the game where there's not a lot of secrets to get, but it's pretty much, the route is very similar to how it is on 8%, just with a few very minor setbacks and sidetracking you have to do, like that for example. The main objective of this level is to activate the power for the base and then collect evidence, and luckily along the way all the secrets are pretty easily accessible because this level's pretty linear. But the level itself is one where you have to go back to the beginning to trigger the end of the level after all the objectives have been completed, so with how everything's laid out, it's much faster to do this along the way and then exit at the end once everything's completed, versus having to go out of your way after you've completed objectives. There's a couple of levels like that, but as you can see, we've already got all the secrets. Some levels have a lot more secrets than others. This is one of the shorter ones. And there's been mostly just like movement stuff, but coming up in the next level we have some more advanced speed tech coming along, so this is kind of where it's introduced in any percent as well. So the third level of the game is interesting because you have to go through 3 different tunnels to raise the water level to get to the next area, and along the way of the first tunnel is a couple of the secrets all in one area. You have to walk carefully along that, then go down here to get 2 more. And then we have to do an explosive jump up here. Now the tricky part about this is we are also going to do one more explosive jump to skip the other 2 tunnels. So we only have one shot to do this, and granted this trick is not very difficult. It is one of those things you have to watch out for, because if we do fail this, we have to restart the level, and in that situation I would just take a safer route. It only costs you about 30 seconds to do it, but we got it there. We're just collecting the last few secrets before we get to the exit. But yeah, that explosive jump saves you having to do a lot of going through the level. I'd say it saves close to a minute and a half. And luckily, like I said, all the secrets are in areas you need to go anyways to do any percent anyway, so that's convenient. This level's pretty interesting. This is one of the first levels where the route is drastically different. In any percent, you would go into the side entrance through the air duct, and normally once you're finished with the any percent objectives, you would explosive jump back out of it. The intended route is to go through the front entrance to get out, if you're just doing a casual playthrough, and because of how the secrets are in this level, we have to actually take that route. So this is again one of the more unique, first really unique levels because of that. This code is the same every time. You're supposed to collect key cards to figure it out, but if you know it, you can just do it. And coming up here is a big sequence break where we do an explosive jump to get the main objective of the level. And that saves us having to do a kind of tedious switch puzzle. So we effectively skip a lot of the level just by knowing the password and being able to do that skip. So now it's going through the rest of the level to get the secrets. We're also picking up the repeater here. The repeater is a surprisingly useful weapon, especially in this category when you're going through more of a level and have to deal with more enemies. Having the repeater pushes enemies back, and that's very convenient. Then we have to shoot that switch to get to this secret area. And now, in order to get out of the front entrance, we have to hit that switch. I got blocked there. One thing I should mention about this run is, or this game in general, is that unlike a lot of other retro FPS games, this one, RNG doesn't play a huge factor in the run. The RNG that enemies can give you is more of a minor inconvenience than anything serious. You're never going to, like, die or lose a run to RNG in this game. It's fairly consistent, one of the reasons I like it so much. So as you can see, we have most of the secrets, and there's one at the very beginning of the level, and you might think, why didn't we get that right away? And that's because if we get it at the very end after we've triggered the end of the level, it's a lot faster, and we can just take that shortcut jump there to get to it. And one thing is, with the secrets, is it's based on hitting a trigger that implies that you've found the secret area. You don't actually have to go through the full area or even collect the items, you just have to go over the trigger to say you've gotten it. And we're going to exploit that a lot later on in the game. So this level is probably the least interesting level in all secrets because every secret is in one convenient area, which is nice, but it also makes the route for this level very much similar to any percent. Doesn't really offer much difference. Going through this area as fast is really important though, because normally you want to try and get a fast cycle in any percent. When you get to the piston before the generator you have to plant a bomb on. However, you can technically do it here too, but it requires some incredibly precise and incredibly fast movement. So even though the secrets are all in one area, you have to get them as quickly as possible, because you want to get here around the time that this thing is still raising up. That means you got there basically as fast as you possibly could. So now we're in the main objective area. We're going to be using a unique thing here where you can use alt fire for thermal detonators, and that lobs them and makes them explode after a couple seconds rather than exploding on impact. And by doing that, there's this weird bug where you can clip them through doors and movable walls, so you're able to kill the Dark Trooper in there before he even gets out. It's really convenient. Now we just have to wait in this section in order to get out of here, and then this is another level where you have to go back to the starting point in order to end the level. So we're going to take a really minor shortcut here that does add up quite a bit. We're going to do an explosive jump here to get back to the beginning. We explosive jumped on the opposite end of the beginning, and then basically we took the wrong exits and entrances to go through the level as fast as we could. It's kind of interesting. So this level is a bit of a doozy. This has the most secrets in any level in the game. The nice thing is, though, that the secrets are all pretty much the same. They're all locked behind explosive walls, and so that makes finding them fairly easy in theory, but this level is probably one of the most complicated levels casually. And interestingly enough, in 80% we skip pretty much all of it just by using a developer-intended shortcut, which also happens to be a secret. As you can see, those cracks in the walls can all be blown away. But we do have to do some sidetracking and go through other areas that we wouldn't normally in any percent to get secrets. So we've got 3 of them right there. Do a boost up here, and normally at this point we'd go take this shortcut, but there are a couple of areas in the level that we have to go to get secrets. So it's a little bit of sidetracking, but it's pretty cool. Also, you saw me use those mines to set my health to 0, and that's only to help clear out stormtroopers a lot more effectively, and also it gives me full health back, because at that point my health is a little bit low. It's just a convenient place to do it because the checkpoint is right by the mines. And we have to go visit one more floor before we can make our way to the exit of the level. We haven't gotten all the secrets yet, but the last few are along the way with the shortcut, so that's kind of nice. I think that's the only secret right there that doesn't use an explosive wall. I don't know if explosive wall is probably the right word, maybe destructible wall is a better one, but either way we have to blow it up to get into there. Alrighty, so we're going to lower the elevator because we have to do that in order to get through the shortcut. And then we have to blow that up. Normally to get there you need a key card, but again, if you know that's there, you don't need the key card. And in some of the lengthier levels in All Secrets, there are a lot of areas we need key cards to get to, but we skip entirely. So that's the last secret. That was a lot of them, but we're almost at the end of the level. And this is, in any percent, there's a thing called One Cycle Detention Center, where you can get to that door without having to wait on the crusher. In theory, you could do that in this category too, but it's a lot more difficult because there's a lot more stuff to do, so it just again comes down to having good movement, and it's not that big of a deal if you don't get it. Alrighty, so now we're on Ramsey's Head. Ramsey's Head has a little bit of sidetracking for its secrets, but everything is also, once again, along the way to the level. You don't have to do any serious sidetracking. We're going to use an explosive jump here. This skips having to get a yellow card right over there to take an elevator to get to that area. The normal way you're supposed to do that is a lot more complicated, so it's obviously much easier just to take an explosive jump there. Alright, we're going to do a boost here to skip this little platforming section. And we're also going to take the time to restock up on TDs. This is kind of the level where you want to get most of the TDs for the rest of the run. They'll fill themselves up along the way, but it's more important in any percent. But anyways, we did an explosive jump there again to avoid doing this the intended way, which requires you to ride the elevator and then jump to that section. Obviously it's faster just to, once again, TD jump up there. And so here we're going to use this secret wall, which doesn't actually count as a secret, but going through there is what opens up the next secret area. It's kind of bizarre. So once we do that, we're good to go, and now we can head towards the objective. And this level, in any percent N in this category, normally your health is pretty low at this point, so with the weapons you have, you can actually effectively lower your health enough so that when you get to that blue keycard, you can blow yourself up and get out of there faster. That death warp saves a few seconds, and it's just very convenient to do. And also in All Secret, since you do inevitably pick up the mortar launcher, that's a faster way to successfully do damage to yourself. So here we have a weird secret. There's no way to get there without knowing that you can do explosive boosting. That has to be... The developers had to have known that explosive jumping was a thing they could do with their engine, and they probably just were like, hey, we'll make a secret so you have to know how to do that. It's kind of weird, and there's an even more ridiculous example of it coming up in a couple of levels. So here we have robotics. We do two big things here at the beginning of the level, other than get this secret. I'll explain that though in a second, because there's a very significant exploit coming up here. Remember what I mentioned about secrets and passing over triggers? If we just walk over those edges, it'll count as us going into the secret area, and same thing with that entrance, because the secret is directly underneath that. So that allows us to effectively get multiple secrets without actually having to go in there. It's a huge time save. So anyways, like I was saying, at the beginning of this level, where we explosive jump to allows us to skip getting a blue keycard to get onto the factory belt, and also we skip getting the ice cleats, which is going to be kind of inconvenient later, but it's much faster to not get them. Also note that I accidentally got blasted back by that explosion when going into that secret area. That was a happy accident, if anything. Alrighty. So now we're going into this. This is kind of the main area where the main objective is done, where we have to plan our sequence charges, and then we're going to fight a Dark Trooper, which is going to be pretty easy, because there's a convenient little power-up left where he spawns, which is weapon supercharge, which makes our weapons fire ridiculously fast. And if you go fast enough, you can actually get to him with shield supercharge still active, and you don't have to worry about losing a billion points of health. Also, that secret's tricky because you kind of have to know it's there and go back for it. And here we're just going to... This was actually intentional. You saw I had 3 health. I actually did a deliberate death warp there in order to get full health again. It's not that important, but I don't want to take any risks going back to the exit and having to do all that over. And as you saw, that section I was slipping around in was they all had ice physics, and at the end of it was the ice cleats, which are now effectively useless for the rest of the game. And the last secret is the one at the beginning of the level, which again, since you have to wait on the mission objectives complete prompt, it's convenient to just do that at the very end. So that's an interesting secret right there, because it's just right there in the open. We're going to do a boost here to save having to take an elevator. It's ridiculously minor time save, but it's kind of become a staple for the run in any category. And this level's pretty interesting. This is one of the first levels where the route is radically different than it is in any percent. The next 3 levels are kind of like that. In this level, you can actually just explosive jump straight to the end, and this level is about 15 seconds long. It's a lot longer here, and Narshada is a pretty complex level on its own. There's a lot to get through in the level. We're going to do an explosive boost here to get to that secret. And then we do a death warp because it's just faster to do that and go straight up here. The TD jump is also convenient because normally you're supposed to fall off of a bridge to get there, but with a boost you can just get up there with no trouble. So this route right here that we're doing is a new route. It's one of the newer routes in the category. It is a lot faster if it's done correctly. This is one of the only sections, however, where RNG could be a problem. But even then, there's plenty of backup strats. It depends on how the Trandoshans act, because they have an extremely powerful weapon, the concussion rifle, and that can just knock you out of the sky. So here's another secret area, that elevator. What I tried to do was peek over the edge in order to trigger it without having to go down the elevator. That didn't work, but if you do get it, it saves a few seconds. And then we're going to do a TD, or not TD jump here, we're going to blow away the last secret wall to get the last secret. What I should mention about this route that I'm taking, while it seems ridiculous, is that it is faster because it skips having to go out of your way to get I think it's a blue key card. Either way, it's faster to do it that way. So now we're getting towards the end, and while we're here, I should also mention that there is a theoretically faster route for this level. However, it is extremely inconsistent, and nobody's found a good setup for it. There's only been like a, like a tool-assisted method for doing it, so for now this is still the fastest way. Now we're going to Jabba's ship. This level is also radically different because in any percent you do the objectives out of order. In this category, the secrets all kind of align themselves along the path of the intended route of the level. So we are going to be doing it the intended way for the most part. There's going to be some minor shortcuts, but this is pretty much the intended route of the game casually. That boost right there is one of those minor shortcuts. And here we gotta be careful because there is a secret right there. It is a shield supercharge. Shields do not protect against melee damage, so if you're not careful and your health is low, one of these enemies that do melee damage, which could be either the Grands or the Gamorreans, they could kill you and you could lose that power-up. And you want this power-up for this level because it is very helpful. Allows you to breeze through most things. If you don't have it, it's not like the end of the world or anything, but the level will become a lot slower because you have to take more precaution. So now we're going here. We're going to do some explosive jumping in order to get to secrets. This is faster than what you're supposed to do, which involves hitting a switch to raise an elevator, I'm pretty sure. It's been a while since I've done it intended, so I can't quite say. But, we're gonna do a jump here. This one was botched because I jumped into the corner. The sliding physics on walls in this game are kind of wonky, so sometimes you'll just run around and slip around like you're covered in butter. But, we have to get that yellow keycard to keep going. Like I said, this is being done the intended route, which is to get your gear, get the Navicard, and then rescue Jan. And again, the secrets are lined in such a way that it's faster to just do the intended route to get them. So here we're getting to a couple more secrets before we get to the Blue Navicard. A lot of the secrets in this level and a couple of them are just extra lives, which aren't bad to have, especially because of, in this category, there's a lot of room for penalty that could ultimately end up in your character dying. So having the extra lives isn't a bad thing. I also think this is probably one of the most, like, skill-demanding categories in the game. Like, there's hard difficulty, which is hard, but that's mostly because RNG is a huge problem in that run. This one's mostly execution. So despite how difficult it is and how much penalty there is, with practice, it's very easy to get a run done without any issues. So here we're coming up onto probably the most ridiculous secret in the entire game. I tried to avoid taking damage from that mine by triggering it, and I missed it up 2 times. We're gonna do an explosive boost here to get to a switch. I do not know how you're even supposed to know that's there casually, but that opens up the last secret area, and I got unlucky there because I got hit by a grenade, and admittedly, I kind of just got unlucky with where the Morians were positioned, so I died and lost a little bit of time. That's again kind of the whole thing with penalty for, you know, mistakes. Sometimes that can happen. Usually the time losses here are around like 30 seconds if it's like drastic. But yeah, now we have to get the last secret, which we had to go really out of our way to, and there's not even anything useful in there. So coming up here is a sequence break that pretty much everybody who's ever played Dark Forces knows about. You heard a scream after I fired the concussion rifle. That is a sign that the boss behind that wall is dead. You can do splash damage through movable walls, which is kind of crazy. And because of that, we've effectively completed the level. Most levels you have to complete every objective to trigger the ending. This is the only exception to that rule, for some reason. And because of that, the game is kind of confused, and then we now have 2 moldy crows, which is kind of cool. And at this point, in any percent, we just be done with the level. But since this is all secrets, this is a radically different route, because we have to go through most of the level sort of in order to get the rest of the secrets. Some of them are a little bit annoying in this level because of just how they're designed. Like, having a really small switch right there is pretty hard to hit. And we're going to do another explosive jump here to save a few seconds. I messed that one up, but we get it the second time, I'm pretty sure. Yep. That literally just saves you from having to walk on a staircase. It's the most ridiculous thing, and the worst part is that jump's actually pretty tight for timing. So coming up here is an interesting section. This elevator is supposed to go down after a few seconds every time you go to a different floor. However, it's designed so that anytime you walk off and go back on it, it will go down. So by going in those rooms and walking back off, we effectively speed up that process. It saves quite a bit of time. Alright, I'm gonna jump here, and I'm gonna turn on my headlight just because it's easier to see where you're going. It's like pitch black in that tunnel. So now we've also picked up the assault cannon, and any percent, we don't get that till like the second to the last level of the game. We get it pretty early here, which is nice. We're not gonna use it excessively until towards the end of the game, but it's kind of nice just to have it. And again, this is all parts of the level you don't see in any percent, and it's kind of cool because this level in particular, even though it's really complicated, is really cool. So coming up here, fuel station, it has only 2 secrets, so one of them is incredibly out of the way to get, and is really dumb. It requires us to get a blue key card, which is only useful for opening up a secret door. But it's crazy because this one only has 2 secrets, but they do take quite a bit of time to get to. Otherwise, the level is pretty much the same to how it is in any percent. So we're going to go in here, we're going to clear out this room by shooting that barrel. It just reduces the amount of enemies we have to deal with. We're going to do some explosive jumps here. Now the funny thing about this section is, if you're running the game on slower settings on DOSBox or playing the PS1 version of this game, you can just jump across these platforms relatively easily. I made a mistake there. I was trying to do a different route here, but I accidentally, my finger slipped. So, instead of worrying about losing too much health, I just am doing this the normal way. There's a method where you can mind boost up there, but it's kind of annoying. So I'm kind of glad I didn't do it there. Anyways, yeah, so if you play it on lower settings, it's easy to jump across that. Normally the intended thing is to activate a switch to slowly rotate a platform, but that takes entirely too long. But for whatever reason, things are weird on higher FPS, which is just in general better for this game for speedrunning. So we have to use an explosive boost to get there, and we just are going to peek over the edge just barely without falling. That prevents us from falling down there and having to take an elevator back up. Pretty good time save there. So yeah, for whatever reason, you have to use explosive boosting to get across the platforms, and that makes things a little bit more difficult because actually aligning those jumps with an explosive jump can be very tricky and a bit awkward. But yeah, as you can see, we got the 2 secrets on this level, and we're pretty much good to go to the end. And I don't know if I definitely didn't mention it, but this is kind of the first real area you use it. If you walk into a room with an elevator and you just time pressing action button while you're walking in, it will activate the elevator without actually having to hit a switch. That's an incredibly minor time save, but it's kind of cool. Alrighty, so that's done. Now we're going on to Executor. This is another level that only has 2 secrets. And what's interesting is one of those secrets we get when we play this category in any percent anyways, because it takes us to the assault cannon. And since we're going to be fighting a lot of Dark Troopers in the next 2 levels, having the assault cannon's important. But I mean, again, we already have it, but it's still kind of interesting because you see this secret normally in any percent. But you never think about it because you're never keeping track of secrets in any percent. So here we are going to do a death warp once we get to the top because we want to have full health. We're going to do an explosive boost to get to the secret area. It's much faster than the intended way, which is taking an elevator up and doing some awkward platforming. The setup I'm using is a little slow, but it is the most consistent way to get up there. There's some crazy setups and also a ridiculously precise TD jump you could do to get up there a little bit faster, but it's only by like 2 seconds maybe. And so that's the other secret we have to get, and we're basically just getting through the rest of the level. So we're going to use the assault cannon here to take out the Dark Troopers. It's the fastest way to do it. This weapon is insanely overpowered. And with weapon supercharge, it becomes an absolute, death machine. So here, now, towards the end, we have to move this transport to each section and then hit the switch. We cannot speed this process up, unfortunately. We have to wait until it gets to each section before the switch activates. So that's kind of unfortunate, but there's nothing you can really do about it. So we're just going to be sitting here waiting. And then while we're waiting for it to get there, we're just using the concussion rifle to use splash damage to kill the enemy on the other side. It's really not necessary, but it's more of a convenience thing. And now we're going on to the last level of the game. This has some of the, this has a good amount of secrets compared to the other 2. That one in particular is kind of interesting, because you jump to it and you just have enough room to jump back. And also, we're killing this Dark Trooper with a very particular setup, kind of an AI manipulation. If you stand at the edge of that platform, he'll walk into the barrels and basically you'll be able to kill him with 2 concussion shots because of it. So we have to fight this Dark Trooper even though it doesn't seem necessary, because when he dies it opens up an area that we normally don't have access to. And we have to go up here in order to open up a secret. I missed that jump and hitting the switch. It's a little bit tricky. The window for hitting it's a little limited. That just opens up that secret. So we're gonna go here. We have shield supercharged, so we can do a super explosive boost to get up there. And the main objective to get towards the end of the level is to plant sequencer charges again. We're gonna do a really dumb, small time save by mind boosting up the elevator. That saves maybe like 1 second or 2, but you can do it because you have shield supercharge. And so the next secret coming up here in this room is a little bit annoying because these floors raise up and down really fast. It's very easy to not get into the area. It's also very easy to miss that area. And we're also getting crushed because it's just faster to run in a line while getting crushed by that than it is to take cover. Then we're going to do another explosive boost here. Well, we failed that one because the positioning was weird. Like I said, the sliding physics can get a little wonky. And then we're going to jump across these two things here to get to the last two secrets. And now we've collected all the secrets, now we just need to beat the game. I should also mention those jumps are kind of tricky. They don't look like it, but the ceiling is really low, so you don't get full jump height. It's very easy to miss that jump. And again, with all these things that are happening, I should mention, having as much time in this category as I have, there's lots of backup strats you can always fall back on if things don't go 100% the way you want them to. Alright, and that was me trying to preserve my life, because it's very low. And I got really unlucky there, unfortunately, so I got killed before I got onto the other side. Just doing a TD jump here is much faster than what you're supposed to do, which is just riding a conveyor belt. But there's a mine down there and an enemy up there, so that just leads to a bad time. Alright, and we're taking a shortcut here. Instead of navigating this full belt, we can just fall off of it and TD jump to the end. It saves a couple of seconds. And now coming up here, we have to do a switch shooting puzzle. And the way I do it is pretty much optimized so that you keep moving and shooting targets while having to wait. Because some of them take longer because they're reaching the top and going back down. So we have to shoot it just the right amount of times and then space out each switch we shoot. That sounds like a mess, but let's just put it this way, it's optimal. And now we're going into the final, arena of the level, which is the last area of the game. We have to fight 2 Dark Troopers and then fight the final boss. There's a little bit of a trick here where you can sometimes manipulate the AI of the first one. The lucky thing you can get here is if he stays on that ledge and starts shooting you, because otherwise you have to fall down and open up that door. If you shoot him fast enough, 9 times out of 10 he'll stay up there. But it can be tricky. This guy you want to fall down though, because if you try to shoot him while he's up there, you're gonna miss a lot of your shots. Now we're going on to the final level. Or not the final level, jeez, the final boss. This is already the final level, whoops. Anyways, this boss is just a glorified Dark Trooper, so he's very easy to kill. Matter of fact, we're gonna barely have to do anything. We just gotta unload the assault cannon on him and he'll be down in just a matter of seconds. And this is where the run ends. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I am submitting this for SGDQ. Hopefully you guys consider it, and yeah, thanks for watching. Should also mention, if you are interested in seeing the current world record, I will leave a link to that in the description. Thank you.